is up, guys, and welcome back to today's vlog. So in today's vlog, I promised you guys that I would show you around my classroom, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I spend a good majority of my time here on the weekdays, sometimes even past work hours, just because I want to make sure everything looks good for my students when they come into the classroom. But before I jump into the classroom tour, let me give you guys a little bit of background information about myself in case you're either new to the channel or you're a new subscriber. My wife and I moved here about 7 or 8 months ago to Malaysia, and we started working here at an international school. Well, I started working here at the international school 7 or 8 months ago, and then my wife actually just started working here too, which is really cool. So I've been teaching about 8 years right now, and I've worked with all sorts of different grades. I've worked with kindergarten, I've worked with grade 1, and I've worked with grade 2. Something that's really cool about working with the little ones is when you see those light bulbs pop on and they have that aha moment where you just taught them something and they just start making all these connections to everything that they know around them. I mean, it's amazing. You get to see like all these ideas they come up with and creations that they want to make just to show what they've learned, and that's one thing that I've really cherished about working in the international school setup. Now, my school teaches what's called the IB program, and in case you don't know, I'll leave a link down in the description below in case you want to check out their website. But the IB is such a cool thing. That's an international program where students can learn from all different nationalities about all different cultures in the world. And I mean, even here in Malaysia, I think there's 36 different schools that offer this program. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole in-depth process of what the IB curriculum is all about. If you guys want to know, I can definitely make another video about that. Just let me know down in the comments below if it's something you'd be interested in knowing more about. But my goal is to kind of get you guys to see what my classroom's like and why it is the way it is. And I know it doesn't really make sense yet until I show you, but I think you guys might like it. So what really makes this classroom special to me is that I have what's called a flexible seating option. I've never done anything like this before until I actually got to this school, and I'm so glad that I was able to do it. When I was living in Panama, we had the traditional desks where you could set it up, and I actually taught the same exact kind of curriculum. But now that I'm teaching this same curriculum here in Malaysia at this school, I've really gotten a chance to explore how these kids can create and learn as a team. Now, for privacy purposes, I did cover up all the names and the faces of the students around the classroom, so you're probably not going to see anything with that kind of stuff on it. So in case you guys see some like randomly placed bags or sweaters and hats, it's not because it's just messy, it's because I'm trying to cover up names and just trying to keep everything safe. The other thing that you're going to notice is that I did cover up the name of the school from all the posters, mostly because I don't even know if I'm allowed to advertise the school, if I'm allowed to publicly state where I work or anything like that. So privately, you can message me on Instagram in case you guys are interested in the school or you want to know more information about the school or something like that. But just for the video, I want to make sure that I don't publicize anything like that without permission from the school itself. I can show the classroom, I just don't think I'm allowed to show anything with their name or the logo or anything like that. So what I thought was going to be really fun about this video is that you at home are going to be able to kind of compare how things are now to how you and me probably went to school back in the day. I mean, if you're like me, you probably went to one of those traditional schools where you had your own desk with your own little space inside the desk to keep all your school supplies in it, and had your name tag on it. You always had one place where you could go to work and that was it, right? I mean, that's how it was for me living back in the United States, all the way to high school. Even in my last school in Panama, I didn't really have the same kind of flexible seating option that I do when I'm here. What was really cool about when I moved here was that there were no desks with anyone's names on it. There were no tables with anyone's names on it. I mean, you basically had an empty room with a bunch of random tables strewn about that you could basically set up however you wanted, which I thought was gonna be a lot of fun. Not gonna lie though, I was quite a bit nervous. Now, this is just a quick wide angle shot of my classroom, and the first thing you probably notice is that there are no name tags on any of my desks. Now, for quick reference, I think I forgot to mention in the beginning of the video that my students are all first graders, which means they are all between the ages of 6 and 7 years old. Some were actually even 5 when they walked into the classroom. So then you might be thinking, Dustin, how in the world do you have a bunch of children in this classroom between the ages of 5 to 7 years old with no special seats, no arrangement, nothing? Like, how do you get these kids to sit where you want them to sit? I get this question all the time from the parents. Like, how in the world do you control all of these kids in such a large open space without any designated location for them? And it's funny, like I always ask the parents, I'm like, you know, when you're at home, when you're working on something for work, let's say it's a report or whatever the case is, are you ever sitting in the same exact place every single time? Or if you're on your cell phone and you're just looking through Instagram and Facebook or whatever the case, sometimes you're laying on the couch, sometimes you're on your bed, sometimes you're in a chair, or even laying on the floor just looking up at the ceiling. You know, we're all in different places at different times, and most of us don't like to sit in the exact same place at the exact same time. Even for me, some days I'm sitting at my teacher desk. Other days, I might be sitting at this desk over here with my students, or I might even just be sitting on the carpet because it's a super comfortable carpet. And that's the same philosophy for these kids. These kids love to explore their workspace. I mean, they one day might be standing at these tables over here. I have these tables. Oh, there they are. I have these tables over here where the kids can actually just walk over here and they can stand up and put their stuff up here, and they all have their iPads where they can work on them and do their own little things over here, or they can just stand and write or draw, whatever the case is. So that's one thing that was really cool. Or I also have this table that's behind me, which is called our low table. And now this table is pretty cool because it has these little cushions where they can sit down on it and work on their stuff down here. A lot of times these kids love this table, and I mean, you might see 6 or 7 kids around this tiny little table collaborating on different group projects, and that's kind of what I wanted to see. A lot of times we as teachers expect students to kind of follow a certain way and do exactly the same thing at the exact same time in the exact same way. But the reality is, not all of these kids are the same. I mean, we're all so different from each other as adults. I mean, you can only imagine these kids when they're all at this age. So I'm gonna go ahead and quickly show you guys the classroom so you can get an idea of what it looks like, and then I'm gonna tell you the master plan of how it all came about. So let's start right here. Over here we have a couple different carpet options for the kids to sit on. They actually feel different, and the kids really love that blue one because when you put your hand on, you kind of like slide it across. It has these little wave marks on it, so it's kind of cool. And what's really neat is like if the kids want to just practice writing a word, they can kind of do that too. And sometimes it doesn't show as much on the camera, but it does show much more in person. And of course, then we have our traditional whiteboard, which I really like because you can move it around with all the different wheels on it. So it's not like I'm stuck in one place. And in fact, I drag this silly thing across the classroom probably at least 4 or 5 times a day. So you can see we have different things going on. We have writing up here, and this is some other writing options that we're doing. And then I'm doing some stuff over here with our unit of inquiry, which is this thing over here, which I'll talk about in a second. To kind of simplify what unit of inquiry basically is, it's kind of like as if you were to take a science and a social studies unit and combine it together to come up with these different concepts that you want the kids to learn. Now, the IB or the PYP philosophy, which is the primary year program that I teach here in the elementary level, is kind of like a foundation of thinking skills and social skills and all these other different skills that we kind of want them to walk away with when they move up to the upper years. We're trying to create these students who are lifelong learners that want to just go out and explore the world around them, especially with a lot of the concepts that we're teaching. And we have what are called key concepts over here that we actually teach them about how the way the world works. So to help you guys kind of understand what that means, we have this thing that's called the central idea right here, which is basically the main idea of what we're going to be learning over the next 6 to 7 weeks. This is a pretty new one over here because we just started this about a week ago, but the last one we did was called People Observe Patterns in the Sky to Understand the Way the World Works. And in fact, my kids were actually doing these really cool projects about like the stars and the moon and the earth and the sun. And so for example, they were looking at the ways that stars make patterns in the sky, such as constellations, and then other students were looking at the way that the moon orbits around the earth and that the earth orbits around the sun. And they had their own variation of showing their own thinking, and some students were doing things about the seasons because seasons follow different patterns, and they had to show their understanding of that through different projects. And that's what the whole IB thing is all about. It's not about me saying, okay, we're all gonna do the exact same thing at the exact same time in the exact same way. Because we're all different, you know? Some of us are artistic, some of us are musical, some of us are very literal. We're all different, and that's the cool thing about the IB program, and that's why I really enjoy teaching it, because we're so different. So just another kind of like option they have is something else that I bought from IKEA, where they can just kind of sit on the floor and then use that on their lap and then write down on it. And then I have this whiteboard over here. I'm sorry, not whiteboard, this brown board over here where I used to have all these projects displayed up there, and in fact I'm kind of saving that because I have another activity that the kids are working on for reading that I want to put up there, so that's why it's blank right now. And then we move on to our sight word board, which I think is pretty cool. I have my sight words and I have my nonfiction words, and my nonfiction words are basically words that are connected to our unit of inquiry. So in case you're wondering, sight words are those basic words that you should know by the time you leave a grade. Basically, they're those fundamental words like and, because, the in the English language that are basically the most common words that you're going to use. And for first grade, there's a list of 100 words that all of the students should know. In fact, some of them actually already know their first 100 words, and I'm already moving them on to the second 100 words that are in the second grade list. You can see we just have like a standard trapezoid table over here, and I have another one just like it over here. So you can still have your basic common desk space if you want to use it, but again, it's open for that collaboration piece. That's the important thing. And then over here on our wall, you can see we have these two long whiteboards that stretch from the floor all the way to the ceiling, and a pull down screen for projector. And I mean, I use this thing all the time, and you might see that I have like all these weird sticky notes on there that say like I wonder or I learned. Well, anytime we're learning a new unit of inquiry, what I like to do is I like to get them to think about what it is that they're gonna learn about. Instead of me always just saying like, hey, we're gonna learn about light and sound, which is what it is we are gonna learn about, I like to ask them like, what are some curiosities that you have? Because then what we do is then we start to explore and inquire about those things, and they really enjoy it. Like they learn the whole topic without really knowing that they're actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing with them. It gives me a chance to be a little bit more excited with them because, you know, instead of me coming up with all these activities that they might not like to do, then I can look and see, okay, what are they interested in? What is it that I can do to experiment with them to help them understand the concept that I'm trying to teach them, but at the same time, involve their ideas and their topics that they're really interested in at that age. Normally what I do next is then I take all these sticky notes that they stuck up there, and then I put it down there on this I wonder wall where we can always go back and check on and go back and see if we want to learn something new, or if they kind of run out of ideas, or if they run out of things that they already started working on, then they can go back and check their I wonder questions and do some independent inquiry from there. So just kind of quickly going around the rest of the classroom, you can see that again I have those standing tables, and I do have some stools in case they want to sit on them, but they're really high for them. I don't know, they can't really sit up there, but they try. And then I have some other stool options back there, so it's kind of nice to have some different seating options. I mean, regardless that those are chairs and that those are stools, you'd be surprised how much of a difference that makes to a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old. And of course, like I said, I have this low table where they can kind of squat down or sit on their knees and do their work down there on the table. They really love that table. But I would say the most popular thing is for the kids to grab a clipboard from over there off the shelf and just kind of take it down to the carpet and lay on their stomachs and just doing their homework down there on the carpet. It kind of blows my mind to think that they have so many different choices, and a lot of them choose to do so many different things. The fact is, times are changing and the education system has to change with it. These kids aren't the same like they were 20, 30 years ago or even beyond that. I mean, nowadays they have so much information at the snap of a finger that they don't even have to memorize anything anymore. We have to kind of think, how are these kids going to change, and how are these kids going to learn? These kids aren't going to just do the same things that we did because, oh, that's the way it was, or that's the way it works, or, you know, if it works for me, why shouldn't it work for them? Why can't we as educators change along with the times and with the kids as well? We have to be open-minded too to the way things are, because it's not going to be the same anytime soon. So if you're a teacher that's new to this whole flexible seating idea and you're looking for ideas on like where to even get started, or even if you're a parent that you're just thinking of ideas or ways that you can kind of change the house arrangement so that way you can create some more learning space for your students or your children, well, I have a suggestion for you, and I tell you what, this blew my mind. In order to help the kids take ownership of the classroom, I actually drew up a blueprint of the whole classroom on a piece of paper, and I let them design how they wanted it to be. So what I did is I created kind of like this rough sketch or this blueprint where they had like the cabinets, they have their iPad storage, which is over here, they have the computer, like my computer over there, and then I had the sink and, you know, all the other different things that are just laid out around the classroom. And then on a separate piece of paper, I drew the different shapes of all the different tables and the carpets and our little island thing over there, which is that yellow thing over here with the books in it, and some other stuff that I had. So what I told the kids is they had to redesign the entire classroom and move all the furniture around the way that they wanted to do it. I wanted them to work together on this project, either with a partner or they could do it individually. And then at the very end of this, they all had to take a look at each other's different plans and make an educated decision or a group decision based on what everyone else says and vote before I even got a chance to say anything. So in fact, all of the stuff that the way you see it is the way that they had designed the classroom. I had absolutely no say in how this classroom was going to be designed. They decided where they wanted the furniture, where they wanted the carpets, where they wanted the whiteboard, and all that other good stuff aside from what is stuck on the walls, and it blew me away. They sat there for probably, this took probably about 2 days worth of time. I mean, we had furniture, it was placed in a place, and I was like, you know what, I really don't like it. I don't like the way it's set up. I want you guys to recreate it. So they did, and again, like I said, this process took maybe 2 or 3 hours or so between one day to the next day, and the results have been amazing. The kids love the classroom. They're happy to come here. They know where they want to work because they decided where they wanted the tables and everything. And the way that they decided to vote, I mean, these are 6 and 7-year-old kids. I mean, they have no idea how smart or how mature they were when they created these ideas or put this whole classroom together. Then they actually moved the furniture themselves. I don't know. It blew my mind, and it really opened me up thinking like, wow, these kids have more capability than I was even thinking. And I'm sure a lot of parents or a lot of people at home are thinking like the same thing. Like, how does a 6 and a 7-year-old decide how they want a house to be, or how do they want a bedroom to be, or a classroom, or any of that stuff? Unless us as educators give these children the opportunity to show us what they can do, we'll never know. And I think a lot of times we think because they're so little that they're not capable of these things when they probably are. But anyway, guys, I think you guys heard me rant and ramble and babble on about education and all this stuff and my philosophy and everything and where I work enough times. So I think I'm going to go ahead and close out the vlog here. If you guys are interested in knowing more about this philosophy of teaching that I do, or this classroom, or anything else in my teaching world, let me know down in the comments below what is something you're interested in knowing. Also, just to give you guys a quick update, next week, Evelyn and I are on spring break. We actually have an entire week off, and I think we're going to be heading to Penang for a vacation. So if you guys have any recommendations on where we can go, or what we can do, or what we can eat in Penang, let me know also down in the comments below. Alright guys, thanks a lot for listening to me babble on and talking on and on about education. So don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, and also, please be sure to make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. It always helps out the channel, and it keeps me going making these great videos for you guys. So, I'll see you in the next one. Peace!